Welcome to the 100 Club. I'm Tom, and I'm joined again by Rich and Oli, here to discuss the first weekend of action from the T20 World Cup. It's been a cracker. Rich, I'll throw it to you first. Has it been as good as you hoped, the first weekend?
It's been interesting. I would say that we've had a couple of very close games. We've had a couple of blowouts almost. But yeah, fascinating cricket so far.
Yeah, I think there's been a bit something for everyone. Oli, has there been a particular thing that's made you raise an eyebrow out of the 4 results so far?
Well, I was kind of hoping from the first few games to get a feel for what kind of past score was going to be. You know, unlike you guys, I've not been following every ball of the IPL, so I don't feel like I've warmed up to this tournament in the same way that you guys. And you know, I've looked at the 4 games from the Super 12s, and I've still, to be honest, absolutely no idea what past score is because they've all been so varied. So yeah, perhaps you guys could tell me if
much like the West Indies, much like the West Indies top order, Oli is a bit rusty.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to be able to say we have a clue what's going on as well, but I'm not sure the IPL has given us much of a clue. We all thought the Sharjah was going to be the low-scoring pitch, and turns out they've had the biggest score of the weekend in the Sri Lanka-Bangladesh game.
Yeah.
What do we know? But, okay, let's start, if I may. Let's go backwards from most recent to far distant past of yesterday. So start with the recent news that Pakistan beat India by 10 wickets in today's blockbuster. I don't think anyone saw that margin of victory, but I don't think we should discount the fantastic cricket played by Pakistan this afternoon. What was it that impressed either of you about that one this afternoon from the Pakistan effort?
So for me, you have to go all the way to the start of the match and that opening spell by Shaheen Shah Afridi, dismissing Rohit Sharma, dismissing KL Rahul in the power play overs, bowling left arm, quick, getting movement off the seam. It was just, even in any form of cricket, that would be difficult to play. I mean, let alone, T20. And I think that just sort of set the tone. That meant that when Virat, the style of innings Virat had to play changed because he had to play the anchor role because, they'd lost the dashes at the top, which meant that India's expectations of a score was dampened down as well. So I thought that that Afridi spell at the top really set the tone for Pakistan today.
But I guess if you'd did you look at 151 and think that is subpar?
I thought it was defendable.
The games that looked defendable.
Yeah, defendable. I think the Windies predictor was saying maybe 170 something on that pitch, but I don't know where they've pulled that figure from because ultimately, top quality bowlers like the Indian attack, you would never write them out with a total of 150 to defend. But I think, Rich's point, Shaheen Shah Afridi's spell did put them immediately on the back foot, the Indian lineup. And it was fantastic. And as we all know, you lose 3 wickets in the power play. There's the old cliche, the trope, if you will, that immediately reduces your chances of winning very much. I mean, did we like the balance of the Indian batting lineup? Did that look right, given the talent available to them?
It's always easy in hindsight, isn't it? I mean, I think Bhuvaneshwar Kumar coming at number 8 hints at a bit of a long tail. But over the last few years, we've seen this sort of Indian modus operandi in T20 is to sort of bat the first 10 overs relatively conservatively, be 80 for 1, 90 for 2 after 10, or 90 for 2, that'd be good. But 70 to 80, after, but only 1 or 2 down seems to be the way they do it. Whereas today, I think they were sort of 3 or 4 down by that point. So that exposed that longer tail. It's easy to say in hindsight, but if they executed their game plan, then they wouldn't have worried about their 8, 9, 10 batters.
I think it suggests they kind of got one way to play, and if it that top order doesn't give them a platform, then the kind of middle order's not set to still post a defendable score.
Yeah, I mean, it is a successful way of playing. We can't deny that, and it's brought them plenty over the years. But the hunt for scapegoats is on now. Rohit Sharma seems to be taking the brunt of that at the minute. Again, not a great score for him. You could ask whether Ishan Kishan was the answer, but as Rich says, not a huge long lineup anyway. When you are 6 down and you've got Bhuvi coming in, maybe that's not the answer. But then you see the Pakistan innings come out, and quality of Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan was absolutely on display. batting through. Was it a different style or pace of innings, or did they just have the luxury of being able to play in their own, in their own mode?
Well, I think if you're chasing 7.5, 8 and over, that just plays into Babar Azam as his style of play. He can dictate at that point. He's such a classy player. Rizwan has been promoted as an opener as well in Pakistan. He's done incredibly well. I think in that situation, as you said, it's the latter that you said, that enabled them to play in that way. They actually went relatively easy for the first time. I think they were sort of something like 70 off the first. They left themselves, 80, 90 to get, but they had 10 wickets in hand. And then they accelerated through sort of overs 13 to 17. If India had got sort of 170, it might have been different. But I think the challenge there is that it's very unusual that you don't get any wickets at all through a 20 over game. India their game plan would have been to expose the Pakistan middle order. The fact they couldn't do it today, I wouldn't read too much into that this early in the tournament.
Yeah, I don't think India would ever lost by 10 wickets, have they, in a T20?
No, it's a first. It's a first. A great win for Pakistan, great performance by them. Maybe some questions around India, but I don't think we should be writing either of these teams onto the trophy yet, or writing them off from the rest of the tournament. It's too early to say that, right?
Yeah, as we said at the start of the tournament in the preview show, I think Mohammad Rizwan was quoted as saying, "There's no problem with the top of our order; it's the middle order we need to worry about." And you sort of looked at that and thought today, Shoaib Malik, Asif in there as well. Yeah. They're going to be tested at some point in this tournament. That creaky middle order, and we'll see how they go at that point.
Yeah. It's nothing like a vote of confidence for yourself at the top of the order. Put question marks around your teammates.
Yeah, lost in translation. Maybe that's all it was. I mean, Shoaib Malik started playing cricket 5 years before T20 was a thing, so he knows a bit about the world. He'll be all right. And I think that he showed as well. Plenty of dynamism, but fielding down today at long leg. And that's another point I'd like to put out there is actually Pakistan didn't make any mistakes today. They played very sensibly, but they didn't drop their catches. It was a good all-round performance, and they'll take that momentum on from here. And
really,
we
Tom?
like the
really? No mistakes. You're not Shaheen Shah Afridi's overthrows. If you can't have some passion, let's call it that, in the heat of an India-Pakistan game, maybe that's a mistake. But the drop catches weren't there. It was good. You see Pakistani team might implode. They have a bit of a cliche for that as well. Yeah, that's to come later in the tournament. Come on, just don't waste that first up.
Yeah, they'll save it up for the Namibia game. Well, we'll see. A match played in great spirit, a great advert for the game, and really good after the match as well to see some good sportsmanship on display.
Yeah, important point for me. I know it's perhaps a bit overstated, but there's not the best relationship between these two countries at the minute. And these matches get hyped up massively because the teams don't play each other outside of major tournaments. But to see that, the two sets of players, respect each other as cricketers, respect each other as people, actually does go a long way, I think, in terms of setting normal relationships between the two countries going forward. So fingers crossed that continues.
Isn't it, in this, it is a very high-profile game in that part of the world. So
yeah. I don't know if the ICC shot tracker graphics are helping by putting a rocket on the end of the ball, but we'll let that pass. Was it the best game of the day, or do we think we enjoyed the Sri Lanka-Bangladesh game more, which was an incredible chase from Sri Lanka?
Well, if you sort of think that we sort of say that perhaps 151 was a little bit under par, then surely 171 looked like a pretty competitive total, and we'd probably win more times than not. But this was not.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Mushfiqur hit a great knock, 57, to set Bangladesh up, as you say, for what looked like a pretty solid, defendable total. But it was all down to Asalanka, 80 on the return. I mean, what did you make of that one, Rich, as a game?
Well, I had a strong sense that Sri Lanka were going to do okay here. At the minute, I saw a tweet off a BBC journalist at the mid-innings break saying, "Forget about the Scotland result. Bangladesh are back. 2 wins in the group stage. They've just posted 171. onwards and upwards. And yeah, an hour and a half later, yeah, gone again. I feel like, you know, I don't know about you guys. Earlier in the summer, we had Sri Lanka over in England for a one-day and T20 series, and they were not the Sri Lanka that I know in terms of they were a shadow of their former selves. Seeing this Sri Lanka side with the combination of the new pace bowlers they have, the spinners that they've always had as well, plus the flair attacking batting, it feels like all is right in the cricketing world when we have a Sri Lanka side like this in major tournaments. Really exciting to see.
Yeah, I agree that Sri Lanka touring side did not do justice to the Sri Lanka that we know and love from tournaments past. It feels like they're back in the mix.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not write Bangladesh off either. I mean, they recovered from their loss to Scotland in the group stages as well. There's plenty more there. They're up next, I think. I'll check the result. The next fixtures towards the end of the video. But I mean, yeah, Sri Lanka, brilliant. We all thought it would be their bowling attack that were their strength in these matches. Kamara in particular is impressed, and Chimera. But actually, no. Today the batters stood up and did the job in a great chase. Okay, I'll go on then, Rich.
If I could just make one comment on the game, there's one question around Mahmudallah's decision to keep Shakib Al Hasan for his 2 overs at the back end. There was an argument that maybe sort of in the 13 to 16 when Sri Lanka were looking to sort of press the gas a bit. Do you bring Shakib back in at that point? Didn't. He held him back. I think 1 over went for 22. Yeah. And at that point, it was very difficult for them to recover after that. So maybe a question a little bit around the use of bowlers, but otherwise, high scoring game. Fair play to the Sri Lankans for chasing it down.
Yeah, I think that's table stakes in a way. And Mahmudallah's a particularly experienced individual, captain. I think sometimes these things work, sometimes they don't. I'm less inclined to throw blame there. Okay, cast your minds back, gentlemen. Full 18 hours or so to the glorious night that was last night, where we enjoyed quite a dominating performance by an England team. How do we feel about that? I mean, were we surprised? Was that the England that we expected, Oli?
I don't think I could foresee England completely blowing the West Indies away in the way that they did. I thought I always thought we had a pretty good bowling attack, but I didn't think that it was going to be bowling sides out in that fashion. And I suppose you kind of question, did they bowl West Indies out, or did they give it away? And there were quite a few batsmen just got themselves out and didn't give themselves a chance, really. I think can we read into it that England's going to do that against every batting lineup? I don't think so. But I guess can't do your confidence any harm, opening the tournament like that.
No, I mean, Rich, what would you say? Was that, we don't like casting blame necessarily, but do we think actually that was the West Indies batting order failing more than the English bowlers winning? So
I found it interesting watching it that there was a lot of cutaway shots to Phil Simmons sat in the dugout, watching on, pretty stone-faced. And I remember thinking at the time, the West Indies with their left-handers sat at the top of the order would have known that Moeen was going to bowl at them up top. That England were going to go with the off spinner against the left-handers. They were going to go with Wokes early on to try and see if there was any swing available. Then probably bring Mills. They would have understood England's game plan. These are not inexperienced cricketers. They played a hell of a lot of international. They played a hell of a lot of franchise cricket. So to then just sort of so easily succumb to the plan that England had set for them was amazing, really.
Yeah. I'd have to concur with that. For me, I wasn't impressed by what the West Indies did at all. I don't think that's the end of them from the tournament at all. I think they'll be licking their lips, having seen the other game of the group, Australia, South Africa in a way, but where there was plenty of tactical naivety on display as well. But in truth, I want to say that was West Indies' fault, I'm afraid. No disservice to Moeen Ali's bowling display, and of course Adam Rashid as well with 4 for 2 bowling. I think, like they said in the commentary, like he was in a school team. But yeah, and then the England chase, you could almost be a little disappointed with it, losing 4 wickets and taking as long as it did. But was there anything to learn from that chase?
I don't know. I'm not sure you can really learn anything from a chase when you you're only chasing 55. Can you? I mean, yes, they lost a few wickets, but you kind of end up playing for a different game when you're just trying to play for run rates. And I think they kind of juggle with the order a little bit. Did it pay off? Probably not. They probably got there a bit quicker if they just played the normal batting lineup. But is it going to make a huge difference over the tournament? Probably not. But I don't think it really tells us very much about where the batting lineup's at.
I'm sure Moeen Ali wasn't delighted with being run out by Joss Butler.
Yeah. I think you learn when you're 8, don't you? That if you're back, it's your call if it goes behind the wicket.
Yeah.
I would say there was a slight positive. I was thinking about it afterwards, in that there would be that temptation. First game of the World Cup. I've got so much time to bat. It's such a low total. I'm just going to get myself, 20 off 30, not out. Get myself into the tournament. The fact they didn't do that shows that they do have trust in the process, trust in the coach. That they went hard for it, ended up getting out. Somebody like Livingston got out for a low score, trying to force the issue. So maybe that's a positive, that they were willing to lose a few wickets to try and get there and start really boost the net run rate.
Yeah. Are you suggesting Owen Morgan was wrong to not use that occasion to get some runs for himself? Just get a bit more confidence for himself. Surely he was the one player who should have stuck around and nerdled it about.
What did he do? He was not out, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah.
He could have come in a bit earlier and given himself a few more balls. Fine. Right.
Got him over the line.
You see what I mean? Yeah, I'm not that. I mean, let's not get into the Owen Morgan thing again before.
No, can we not?
I'm a little bit upset about Adil Rashid getting credit for a delivery that I think I developed, which was the leg spinner, which doesn't spin at all, but just bounces and carries on very slowly in the same direction in which it was bowled, which seemed to be enough for Dre Russ.
Yeah. Did you give it a fancy name?
No, I didn't.
Fear into the hearts of the batsmen. That's
just the pie. I think that's what it's known as.
It lacks something if it is your stock delivery, I've got to say. Okay, let's move on then to the tournament opener, or the Super 12 opener, more accurately, which was a low-scoring thriller over in Abu Dhabi between Australia and South Africa. And I think both of these teams sprung some surprises in their lineups, which immediately put me on the back foot with what to expect. The South African total, 118, looked very lightweight, and then the Australians made really hard work of it. I mean, could South Africa be a bit disappointed in a way for losing this game?
Yeah, two teams who like to choke, trying to out-choke each other. In the end, the Australians failed to choke. Just about got themselves over the line.
General
Poor old Bavuma, weighed down by his 4 floppy hats as he stood at extra cover.
Looking like the Buckaroo donkey.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many bear snakes we're going to see during this World Cup, given the location, but maybe hat snakes are the new look. We should see what the record is for hats worn. And of course,
Bavuma set an impressive total already. Beer snakes aren't going to happen when they put the spectators in those little white picket fence pens like they did in that match as well. It was remarkable.
Yeah, don't tell amnesty about
that. but 16 overs into that chase, Australia had just lost Steve Smith, and they just lost come to me, Maxwell, there you go. And new batsman in, run rate was, nowhere, just on the cusp of being in play. And it seemed to me the South Africans didn't attack at that time. They didn't allow, they allowed the singles to the Australians, and they just kept them in it until the new batsmen were in. I think they could have chased them harder at that point.
Yeah, I kind of disagree though. I think that they were looking at that point, what was it, 8s on a very tricky wicket. And I thought it made sense to give them the single and to try and restrict the boundary option. I didn't think Bavuma got that particularly wrong at that point.
I'd have used Nortje and Rabada and gone at them. Anyway, go on, Ollie.
Yeah, I think, that you kind of want to, if you're ahead of the game as the bowling side, you need to try and kill it off and not let it go deep. Because therein lies the chance to lose the game. Whereas if you've got new batsmen, attack new batsmen.
I'm with you, Ollie. Yeah,
get the game won. And I think South Africa kind of had the chance to do that and didn't attack enough.
An old phrase in my world: reinforce success, not failure.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would say that you were waxing lyrical about the Delhi Capitals bowling lineup during the IPL, and you had Norke and Rabada opening the bowling for them, and they've taken that form directly into this because they were sensational up top. Because anytime you're trying to defend a low score, you want those first few overs to be right on it, and they were brilliant up top. So they sort of gave the South Africans a chance.
Yeah, they did. But then you could say at the end, they had, I think they had 2 overs between them in those last 4 with Hendricks pulling up the other 2. And they didn't actually get, I think, quite the job done that I could have done, if they had recreated that form. Sorry.
Right. If they'd bowled those overs a few earlier against new batsmen, I think then you're a bit more likely to see a South African points on the board. Yeah.
Okay. That's the state of play so far. Far too early to look at a table or anything like that, or predict too much beyond that. So the fixtures coming up tomorrow, Monday, we have Afghanistan against Scotland. Anyone feeling anything about that one that you want to put on the record?
I was going to say one's a isolated, rugged, mountainous kingdom run by fanatics. The other's Afghanistan.
I shouldn't laugh, but yes. Anything cricketing to say about it?
Cricketing-wise, I think it's genuinely intriguing. So Scotland beat Bangladesh in the prelims, and they are ranked higher than Afghanistan in the world. Afghanistan haven't had the greatest run of it recently. They've had some stuff going off the field, as the world is well aware.
Stuff going off the field is probably the understatement of the of the week, but okay.
Good chance for Scotland to take them on. They'll be full of confidence.
They will that, and I think that is actually, they have nothing to lose. That factor you can't underestimate sometimes. On Tuesday we have another 2 games. We've got South Africa, West Indies, and Pakistan make their second match against the new arrivals, as it were, in New Zealand in Group B. What do we expect from New Zealand, given what they've seen from Pakistan today? How do you think they might adapt their game to face the Pakistan team?
Well, if watching cricket for the last 30 years has taught me anything, then having just beaten India by 10 wickets, Pakistan are getting absolutely smashed on Tuesday.
Well, and just watching cricket over the last, sort of 4 or 5 years, if there was a pretty smart cricketing nation that probably just know how to approach the game, it's New Zealand, right? They seem to just be, very savvy at the minute. So, I'd sort of fully expect New Zealand to come up with something.
So that's 2 votes for New Zealand, is it? I'm going to go with Pakistan, actually. It's a Sharjah. They do at least understand these grounds better than most. New Zealand haven't had a real, in-depth look at them yet. We'll see. I mean, it's almost what they're expecting us to do is to pile in if you're Pakistan. But we'll see. South Africa, West Indies. Can the West Indies bounce back against South Africa? Or vice versa, I suppose.
Well, it's a big game for both, really, in a way.
Yeah. Is it a must-win? Can we say that yet?
It feels a bit early to be sort of, to be desperation stakes, but you kind of don't really want to be losing 2 on the bounce, do you?
I think the big call for West Indies is I think they need to get Roston Chase into that batting lineup. I think he adds a lot with the bat. I think he's also a useful option with bowling as well.
Yeah.
I don't like Chris Gale at 3. I don't think it's the right spot for him. He's the most obvious person to miss out for me, but I think they have to find some way to get Roston Chase into that side.
He's not going to miss out, though. You and I both know it. He's going to play every game. And on Wednesday,
might not be many games though. Where they're going,
might not, but that's not the point. Okay, Wednesday, last couple to look at in this session. I think England, Bangladesh, and Scotland, Namibia. So, England, Bangladesh. England would be confident, wouldn't they?
Yeah, you'd have thought so. But Bangladesh, strong side, as we know. They have had a good results recently against Australia and New Zealand, so they'll bring that confidence in. But I think England, if they play to their potential, will have too much for them.
Yeah, very different prospect from the West Indies, though. So England will have to have a complete rethink about what they're going to do, I think. Oli, yeah?
Well, it'd be interesting to see, if if England were asked to chase down 171 against Bangladesh, that would be a proper test of the batting lineup.
It would.
We touched on Morgan a little bit earlier, but can that batting line afford to carry any passengers when it's chasing big scores like 170? I think it'd be an interesting little test to see if I'd like to see them trying to chase down those kind of numbers. At some point in the tournament they're going to have to, so they might as well try it early doors.
Well, we know they like to chase. We know that chasing is generally favouring teams at the minute. So we'll see how that continues as well. I mean, any last closing thoughts on the tournament that you've seen so far, gentlemen? Oli?
Well, the first game I watched was I caught the Namibia Island
yes.
game, and that was actually quite a good game of cricket and a good chase. And the commentary team had I'm not sure who was on comm duties, but they had Namibia, right out of it. They said they were going far too slowly, and I was sat there thinking, well, you're only a couple of lusty blows behind the rate, and a couple of lusty blows later, they'd won. So,
so your conclusion is pundit trees for idiots. Nobody should try it.
Yeah, exactly. Mug's game.
Right. Okay.
Don't make any predictions.
On that note, maybe we should call this a day for this episode. We will be back, of course, very soon for some more World Cup catch up. It's been a pleasure. Oli, Rich, thank you very much for joining.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And we'll catch you next time on the 100 Club. Bye now.